Much as I would like to watch and comment on the live debate coming up between Bill Nye and Ken Ham, I won't be able to because I'm working. A lot of young Earth creationists seem to think that those of us who support Bill Nye are scared. This is ridiculous. The first clip I'm going to show comes from an interview that Ken Ham did with Ray Comfort.
Ken, years ago, I went back to New Zealand to see my parents when they were still alive and to get some real food. And before I went, I sent emails to a local university, secular university, and I got hold of the Atheist Club, and I said, I'd like to do a debate with one of your professors. I said, would you do that? And they said, yeah. I said, would you bill it as come and see a Christian thrown to the lions?
Yeah.
And the place was packed, absolutely packed. It was just a wonderful success. You've got so much secular interest on ABC and all these other... Do you think it's the same thing? They think you're going to get eaten by this lion?
Oh, I'm sure they do. They think, I think they have this idea that, you know, we are these right-wing Bible-thumping fundamentalists, and I'm just going to get up there and thump the Bible and, you know, just preach at them. I think, you know, a lot of these people don't really know who we are and the incredible amount of research that's gone on behind the work that we do. I mean, we have PhD scientists here who are full-time, and we work with a lot of others outside the ministry. So I'm sure that they do see it that way. I think, you know, because you've got, you know, personality of Bill Nye, who's so well known, Bill Nye the Science Guy, and he's, you know, a great communicator, and his program is very, very popular. Yeah. And because you've got someone, as me, you know, who's well known representing the creationist position, conservative Christian position, and because the Creation Museum has been so looked at from around the world, I just think God orchestrated this and sort of brought it together in such a way that it's become a real media event. I mean, there's been a media frenzy, the secular media as well as the Christian media, and it's gone viral on the internet, and even atheists are talking about having special events in their area and groups of them watching live streaming, and I'm sure they'll be saying some interesting things. But I just happen to be, I think, the two of us representing who we are, coming together at the right time in this nation, and it's sort of, you know, some people are calling it Scopes 2, would you believe? Scopes Trial 2. That worries me a little bit because a man representing Christianity died a week after the Scopes Trial. But so
I would just like to comment on the fact that Ken Ham is representing one particular branch of Christianity, the young Earth creationists. Other forms of Christianity are available. Now, this next clip comes from an interview Bill Nye did with Huffington Post.
You're set to debate Creation Museum CEO Ken Ham, I think, on February 4th. An article published on Richard Dawkins' website last week has a pretty sharp critique of your decision to do so. It says, scientists should not debate creationists, period. Debating creationists offers their position credibility. Why go there into that lion's den and debate someone who is probably unwinnable?
Well, I don't think I'm going to win Mr. Ham over any more than Mr. Ham thinks he's going to win me over, if I understand that expression, win over. Instead, I want to show people that this belief is still among us. It finds this system of belief. It finds its way onto school boards in the United States. So people in Texas, they just barely, well, they came close to not winning the fight to keep creationism out of their textbooks. And what I would say, you know, Richard Dawkins is an acquaintance of mine, not my best buddy or anything. But I'm not going in really as a scientist as such. I want to remind everybody, I'm a mechanical engineer. I admit, I took a lot of physics. Oh man, did I take physics. But with that said, I'm going in as a reasonable man. And I think that just to call attention to this belief system has value. And especially for me, for Kentucky voters who have to decide whether or not to give to this facility that he has built and one that he plans to build will take advantage of certain tax tradition or tax codes in Kentucky, and I'd like voters just to be aware. I mean, it's the First Amendment, I'm right there, but the guy challenged me to a duel. What am I going to do?
Does it frighten you, the level of creationism, the push to include it in science class?
Well, anytime, yeah, it does. If I understand the term frightened, yeah, it's a deep concern. If the United States does not produces a generation of science students who don't believe in science, that's troublesome, because what makes the United States still a place, like Ken Ham's originally from Australia, for example.
I'm sorry about that.
What makes a guy like that, or what makes people still want to move, like you, still want to move to the United States, is the United States has this tradition of innovation, of new ideas, of optimism, of Silicon Valley, or what have you. And New York State has this tremendous push to bring in high-tech firms and so on. So without that, the United States economy will slip behind, and really the expectations of the world will change a little bit. So probably not for the better. So we want to raise the most scientifically literate students that we can.
In order to be scientifically literate, you need to understand scientific methodology. And many of the young Earth creationists who have commented on my previous videos don't seem to understand that evolutionary theory comes from a systematic study of living organisms on this planet. It's not a worldview, and it certainly isn't a religion. Now, here is Ken Ham's latest trailer.
Denial of evolution is unique to the United States. Evolution is the fundamental idea in all of life science. It's very much analogous to trying to do geology without believing in tectonic plates.
The word science means knowledge. You can divide science into historical science, that's talking about the past, or observational science, that builds our technology.
Billions of years explains so much of the world around us. If you try to ignore that, your world just becomes fantastically complicated.
The way to convince kids about evolution is you don't teach them to think critically, don't teach them the difference between historical science and observational science. You just want to make sure they only hear about evolution, and that's it.
You know, in another couple centuries, that worldview, I'm sure, just won't exist.
So, according to Ken Ham, science is divided in a way which scientists themselves don't divide it. Young Earth creationists do the same thing with evolution. They divide it into micro and macro evolution. Those who study it without a biblical bias, i.e. scientifically, agree that an accumulation of microevolution is macroevolution. And then there is the spurious claim that Bill Nye and secular science, another young Earth creationist reclassification, science is science, only want to teach evolution. The point is that young Earth creationism is unscientific and should not be taught as if it was science in the science classroom. Let's see if Bill Nye really is as hostile to religion as Ken Ham seems to think.
Speaking of creationism and the religion from which it stems, Michelle Hott-Gerety left you this question on our Facebook page. She says, do you believe in God? How do you answer that question?
No. I mean, but as we say, you can't know. So strictly, if you have to reckon and you have to put Bill in a category, I'm an agnostic. You can't know.
Perhaps
but
there are
the idea that there's a plan for everybody, and this deity has this all worked out and is really directing things is an extraordinary claim that I find troublesome.
One of my favorite.
It's not for me. Now, I remind everybody, there's billions of religious believers around the world, billions of Christians. That's fine. People get a great deal out of it. They get a lot of community. People talk about the modern Pope and all the great things he's doing, and that's good. Doesn't concern me. We're talking about specific claims that affect the future of science students in the world leader in science. Or if the United States is not the world leader in certain technologies, we're certainly in the top 3. So It's important.
One of my favorite responses to that question, do you believe in God, is, well, tell me the God that you're talking about, and I'll tell you whether or not I believe in him or her. I suppose it's possible, do you think, to be an atheist towards the claims of formal religion, the historical and factual claims that religions make, an atheist towards the religions of the book, but somehow agnostic towards the idea that perhaps there's some vast, ineffable plan to everything that we can't possibly comprehend?
Well, how could you distinguish? I mean, books of philosophy are written every week about this, but this is fun. I have to say this is fun. Imagine this. We have, by at least one reckoning, 98% of the same DNA as chimpanzees. It's certainly more than 97% as chimpanzees. Imagine an entity, a civilization, where they've got the 3% more than we have. That is to say, ability to reason, to do arithmetic, to solve calculus problems. And they can do it like this in the same way that we are able to do these things better than the great apes or bonobos or what have you. It's an extraordinary thing. Would those people be gods to us? I don't know. They would certainly have some of the same attributes that we often give to deities. Another
question that I like that's coming in from...
let me emphasize, too,
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Creationist Mr. Ham and everybody, it's not about my belief, this debate or this appearance at his facility. It's about his model of creation. So,
Ken Ham, if you're watching this, your religion isn't the main problem. Your pseudoscience is. Thank you for watching. Please check the description for relevant links and information.